Hello and welcome to the show. So NASCAR is, whether you like it or not, one of the biggest motorsports in the world. It may well be the biggest in the world. However, Forza 5 doesn't really cater to it. There is no specific NASCARs in this game, neither are there very many ovals. The only one we have to choose from is Indianapolis, and the closest we have to an oval racing car is an Indy car, which also is built to go around a track. So there really is very little you can do with NASCARs. However, there is a NASCAR engine in the game, a 5.9 litre racing V8 with some 800 and something horsepower. From stock, take the restrictors off and you get it to 995, which is an awful lot. But if we can't use it for oval racing, what can we use it for? So me and Husky set off to find the many uses, or the single use, for a NASCAR engine. Our first idea was to dump it in a classic muscle car without any other upgrades. So these vehicles have near enough 1,000 horsepower engine with the same tyres, the same suspension, the same gearbox. Admittedly, if this was realistic, all of the driveline would have exploded trying to put it.
The gearbox would just implode.
It wouldn't know what to do. But yeah, this isn't real life. This is a game, so we can get away with putting 1,000 horsepower through these cars that were really not designed for this much power. I am driving the bright green Challenger. Husky is driving the Hemi Cuda, and I was trying to be brave.
I'm in the Soxon Martin drag style Cuda.
Yeah, these are probably better suited for drag racing than they are for what we're trying to do. I got brave and probably run out of brakes. These cars...
And then I sort of went to visit the cameraman.
Yeah, you had a little off-track excursion. These cars do not stop. As you can imagine, muscle cars did not have the greatest of brakes. I believe they had drum brakes back then, which is not very good.
Pretty much.
In a car that weighs many, many thousands of pounds, these things just do not stop, as we will see in the background.
And off I go.
The Husky's making more sandcastles in the sand traps at the Gouda.
I got bored of racing. I was like, oh, what's over here?
Yeah, I splattered the cameraman with my vaguely controllable Challenger. If you got things a little bit sideways, these cars could have massive twitches. If you just put a little bit too much power down, it will try and flick you into the nearest wall. You also have understeer, which is surprising, I know, but because the tyres are so rubbish, you will try and take a corner at speed, and then you will do that, and you will miss a corner. And
I'm back in shot.
And Husky is caught back up as we go down the corkscrew. Yeah, these are
you have every kind of... You have every conceivable kind of steer. You have understeer and then oversteer and then backward steer.
You certainly have backward steer. You have all the conceivable kinds except for the useful one that is actually turning around a corner. There isn't much of that going on. Of course, you also have to be very, very careful at trying to put any power down. It's unlikely you're going to go around the outside.
I attempted to go around the outside. It didn't work. But it was an attempt.
It was a brave attempt to try that manoeuvre. The other part of this track you had to be aware of, shall we say, is this first sort of corner.
Way.
That's airborne and sideways.
I got a little bit... that was a bit scary of a moment.
That was. I was so busy watching
drifting
in my rearview mirror, I missed the corner completely.
Yeah, and I decided to do some drifting, because drifting, it seemed to get it around the corner slightly easier, for me anyway, than actually just trying to turn, because it didn't want to do the turning.
Yeah, as you could expect.
But it also seemed down the straight that my Cuda, even though these cars are nearly the same weight, I think yours is a little bit lighter. Mine was faster down the straight.
Yeah,
for reasons.
The Cuda was noticeably quicker in a straight line. I think the Challenger was perhaps
the shaker hood. Very
marginal. That's all the difference. The shaker hood makes the important bit of difference. I get brave and try around an outside manoeuvre, which ends up slightly. I didn't quite build a full sandcastle over there, which is a little ditty one.
When you're trying to give someone space with them, it doesn't work.
It's
because
very
you're
hard.
Trying to give them space, you're understeering into them.
Yeah, it is incredibly tricky with these cars. I thought about it, changed my mind, not going to go around the outside there. It was never likely to work. Then the Cuda has a little bit more speed than my Challenger. We soon realised flat out doesn't really work over here. as we're both sideways.
No, I think after the fourth time we did that, and then you bonked me.
Yeah, we soon learnt that you can't go flat out over there, because that happens. I wasn't as sideways, it wasn't as spectacular in my car as it had been in Husky's, but you're still in the air, and by the time you landed and got your car sorted out, you just can't get it stopped in time. You're going sideways.
No.
Since I had pushed Husky out of the way a little bit, I decided to pull over and let him get back past. I think it was a couple of laps to go. Yeah, these things are mental, crazy fun.
The only other problem with that, if you go over that jump and then you realise I need to brake, but because it's not really a straight braking zone, it's on a slight corner, they seem to just, as soon as you put the brakes on like I did there, they just want to straighten back out, and you end up going in wherever the hell the car feels like.
They're not the best of handling vehicles. In the end, with that little off, and there's only a lap to go, I was to take the victory in the muscle cars. It had been quite good fun.
I have failed the shaker.
You have failed with the Hemi Cuda. So it got us thinking, what else could we put a NASCAR engine in? These seemed like an interesting choice. A Chevy Bel Air with their 2-speed gearbox.
Yes, seeing how they were brand new DLC, and I remember racing these on Forza 4 with their hideous 2-speed gearboxes. So I promptly painted mine in Crazy Taxi just because Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, Asking us on for the Crazy Taxi one. I am driving the blue one with the flames.
Crazy money.
Off the line, we got a much more even start off the line this time. This is you never think about this section of track in a normal car. These are all over the place. This is just from the launch. Coming over the bridge, we were having problems.
I was sort of doing some drifting event.
Husky was going sideways. I was having all of the understeer and running a little bit wide. May have had a little bit of a bump. It's fine, these cars are monumentally strong, so it doesn't really matter. We thought to make things interesting, rather than stick to a racetrack, let's go to a place where there are walls everywhere. So we went to the Prague Full Circuit. And hills, one of the nastiest and narrowest of the circuit. Husky's gone back to sliding, and that's an awful one. It may have been a bit of a wall tap, and then you may have bumped into me as well. It's side by side to the next corner. I'm on the inside. You're going. That's not a normal angle to be taking that corner at. That's not quite right.
That is the best angle. What do you want about?
I got past, so therefore it could not be the best angle. I did have some problems with understeer.
I attempted to block you with the front of my car. It didn't work though.
Yeah. So I was leading. It was still incredibly close. I then started having a big moment down here and promptly lost control of my car. I didn't hit a wall. I managed to recover it with a bit of a 360.
It was also rather scary.
Yeah, rather scary for Husky.
Anyway, when I'm trying to brake.
Yeah, I thought I'd actually been tagged by his car. I think just watching that replay, the bottom, like the back suspension bottomed out over those really nasty cambers. And I think...
And it got a bit unhappy.
Yeah, those corners, that particular corner there is very sort of steeply banked and lots of cambers going on. I think that's what happened as, yeah, it was a little bit weird on that front. This is a bizarre sight, seeing two Bel Airs flying through some very narrow chicanes on a street circuit. But, yeah, you just had to get a tiny bit too much power, and suddenly you'd be sideways.
They did seem to be, for some reason as well, it seemed to be easier with 2 speeds rather than 4, or in my case 3 in the Cuda.
Yeah.
It just seemed to, you didn't need to then worry about gears, you could put it in second and go. Because first was officially useless.
Yeah, Husky's going left into a right-hander there, and it's still sliding. It's still sliding, and I'm understeering in the background. For the most part, I don't think we ever changed gear really. You just stuck it in second and carried that around the whole lap, and then you had to deal with a bit of wheel spin out the slower corners. I got brave as I fit through a gap. Coming up, this next corner is terrifying for me when you have a Bel Air going sideways at the back of your car. Is well held, I will give you that. It is well held, sliding up the hill.
It was weird with these cars because no matter how you drove them with your driving style, which you can see on the videos is completely different between me and Alex.
We couldn't be more different.
You could still keep up with each other.
Yeah, we could not have a more different driving style with these vehicles. I just did not want the back of my car to step out ever. I was doing everything I could to stop the back of my car sliding. So you'll see my vehicle
and I was
understeering. And Husky wasn't.
And I was kicking the back end out everywhere because I found that easier.
Yeah, Husky was just throwing his cars into the corners and letting it slide about. The sort of like the effect of this is I think I was a little bit quicker through the corners, but the problem was whenever I got my car out of shape, I ended up losing more time. So overall, in the course of a lap, we were incredibly even as we're going side by side. I may have taken out some bollards, never mind.
Yeah, I got a bit brave there.
It's like doing that was a terrifying manoeuvre, having a car on the inside and trying to hold it on the outside. These things do not handle. These are terribly tricky to drive. They have very little grip.
No.
They have very little brakes. As you can see, the amount of body roll that's going on. Little bit occasional bumps through the chicanes as we were trying to push the cars, perhaps a little bit too hard. Big slide from Husky's car.
I like that.
I tried to get up the inside, but again, you can get away with the odd bump because he's such a huge vehicle. It doesn't actually affect them too much. Husky does a cutback on me. This was probably the best race I've had on Forza 5. And this is with vehicles
Which is odd.
These shouldn't be raced. Like normal Bel Airs are fairly silly racing vehicles. Ones with NASCAR engines, standard tyres, brake, suspension, gearbox, etc. Just, I don't know, it was huge fun. I have a big dive at the first corner, overshoot it. Husky's done a switch, but I'm almost getting on the exit there if I could get a bit better drive, which I can't quite do. We were incredibly evenly matched in these vehicles. And yeah,
yes.
it doesn't make sense, but it was truly incredible racing. And that's a big jump. That's an awful...
Doing some flyby.
That's a huge amount. I didn't realise how far in the air you were getting of that jump. That's pretty damn impressive. But when you're doing it,
well,
while losing
I
a
know
little
it
bit of time...
felt a bit dodgy when you would land back on, and all the suspension would get upset at you because it was designed for cruising and not for flying through the air.
I don't think the Bel Airs were ever designed with the intention of landing from a jump, were they?
These things are from the jet period, aren't they? There you go, flying.
Wasn't there a modern Camaro that was built with a mode for it to land jumps because they wanted to take it at Nürburgring and they kept having problems? I swear that was a thing. I might be making that up, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. We needed that mode anyway on these cars. Still we're side by side. I'm getting a bit of assistance. That's always scary when Husky's trying to help you spin it around in a circle, which is not my forte.
I'm just learning you how to control the car, honestly.
Oh, you're trying to teach me how to drift? Is that how it is?
Yes.
Ah, right, I see. I believe this is as we come on to the final lap, perhaps? I'm not entirely sure. This race was still... we changed lead, I think, more time in this race than they have in the entirety of this Formula 1 season so far. There was lots of place changing. I've gone to visit the crowd. I may have... That's not the correct racing line. Okay, kids?
The HD crowd.
Yeah. The super mega HD crowd. Alright, there are two people that are HD, and then the rest of them are sort of cardboard cutouts.
Duplicates of those people.
Yeah, pretty much. Lots of people came out to watch our event, though. Look at the crowds. Although, to be fair, you would come and watch this. That's very sideways again. I was waiting for you to hit the back of my car doing that. Every time it looked like you would. I've almost lost control. If I started going sideways, because I am absolutely not a drifter in any way, I had a little bit more trouble controlling my Bel Air. Husky runs out of grip, trying to go around the outside.
And road.
Yeah, well, grip and road. And this next corner here was also a little bit of a pain, as I was stuck on the wall. Husky's very sideways. Oh, God. Yeah, that's slightly more spectacular.
This is how you do the drifting. You don't need Nissans or 350s or any of that. You need a Bel Air with a ridiculous engine and 2 speeds. You have slide and slide.
Yeah, no, you have backwards as well. You've got to remember the backwards one. There is always the possibility.
So backwards slide.
I've got the cameraman at Prague as well, and still having the problem with the understeer, as I did with pretty much all of these vehicles. Again, I may not quite have stopped in time for this one. Still trying to take a bit too much speed with... No, that's... Again, don't want to really be out that wide. Husky's taken a really fast line through there. And now, guess what? As we come up towards the finish line, I have a crazy taxi right behind me. That's not fun. I'm not sure if there was an assistance in the wall or if I bumped off the wall into you. Coming into the chicane, I am all out of shape through here. A little bit of a wall tap. There we go, that's a thing, isn't it? A wall tap? I think you can get away with saying that. We're both pushing the cars incredibly hard through that section. Both clatter the wall. Husky's up the inside.
Dive the inside.
Can't stop it. and I can get a cut back, and then it's just a drag race to the line. And
which that was just so irritating because it's right there, and
it was very, very close, but it was absolutely excellent fun. As I said, one of the best races I think we've ever done on Forza 5. So seeing how much fun the Bel Airs had been, we went one step crazier with the Ford Deluxe Coupe. Yeah, the oldest car ever to be in Forza Motorsport, any of the Forza games, I believe. Again, stick the NASCAR engine in one of these, leave everything else standard, and see how it went. There was a slight problem though when we first tried this, because the differentials were useless and you basically got a one tyre fire the entire way.
I don't think 1940s differentials would ever think the 900 horsepower was capable in the world.
No, they should have exploded to bits, but as it was, Forza's mechanics just meant they spun one wheel.
With my ZZ Top one.
Yeah, I was driving the Black Widow one. Yeah, basically this car almost limited its own speed. Because it only would spin up one wheel, you could not get it above 130, I think, or not here.
It made the brakes feel not as bad though, because you weren't going as fast.
Yeah, the Chevy was doing, I think it was about 150, 100, might have even been up to sort of 65 down that first straight. But with these going much slower, they certainly didn't feel as bad on the brakes. They were a bit of a handful through the corners, as you could imagine with just one wheel spinning. But again, because you could never ever put the power down, it wasn't as difficult in some ways as the Bel Air. Husky
somewhere and hello camera.
may have missed the corner a little bit. So with the standard differentials, this really wasn't as spectacular a finale as I had hoped. So we went back to the upgrade shop to put on a race differential to actually make the cars a little bit more challenging to drive. So now we don't have any more one-time fires. Everything else is still exactly the same. So it's still got the same suspension, same brakes, same tyres. It just means it's going to spin up both the rear wheels instead of one. And as you can see, we are already going sideways around the first corner. And under braking, these are a bit weird. These are very, very twitchy under braking. You saw with the Bel Airs, when it was very bumpy, you could get them sideways, such as the first corner. These, whenever you put the brakes on, they just wanted to wobble. It was all they wanted to do.
Yeah, I think leaf spring suspension disapproves of all this.
I tried to put some power down. May not have worked. Tried to give it a bit of
close. You nearly scratched my ZZ Top.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was actually closer than it was. From my point of view, that was just about got away with that one. After a couple of laps, I did begin to catch back up to Husky. I am a very big fan of Long Beach track. This is probably my favourite track on the game, so I did have a slight advantage at this place.
I firmly stick to Spa. I am faster around Spa.
Yeah, Husky is not a fan of this corner that is coming up right now. You did not like this track.
No, I could never get this, because no matter what I did, I always managed to bugger it up somehow.
I tried to go around the outside. I should have learned by now. Going around the outside is almost pointless in most occasions.
There was a bit of a
with
boink.
These cars. The other thing that you have to contend with, as you saw there, is you will be going along and suddenly you will be sideways, as we see in the braking zone. It's just something you can't do much about. If somebody's alongside you on the inside, like you saw there, and your car has decided is going sideways, you can't do anything about it. It's just one of the many interesting characteristics of these vehicles. I think interesting is the best way to describe it, or slightly balmy.
Yeah, that's the nicest way to describe it.
Yeah. They were, again, much like the other two previous vehicles, these were pretty insane to drive. They weren't as quick, I don't think.
Again.
Yeah, there's lots of drift. They weren't as quick, I don't think, because we had so much problems sort of getting them to go in a straight line. The Bel Airs and the muscle cars were pretty good at simply getting them going in a straight line, provided, of course, you were careful with the throttle. You have to be very careful with these sort of cars. I should point out, I should have done this at the start, these were all with assists off and simulation steering, so we have absolutely no assistance trying to deal with all of this power, etc.
That's why you see us zipping left and right all the time.
Yeah, there is many a wheel spin. It's sort of the wobble factor, that's what I'm going to call it, with these vehicles that makes them so hard to drive. You'll see again under heavy braking here. Whoop, there goes Husky's car.
Yeah, mine's just deciding to go whichever way it feels like. Really, you managed to go around the outside, which I was a bit peeved off about. I was like, how?
I have managed to go around the outside. The problem is, I
majorly buggered it up.
You outbraked yourself. I ended up taking too shallow a line through the corner, so I had to back off a little bit. There is a slightly weird sort of physicsy glitch with that tyre bundle you'll see in a minute. Husky's car wanted to go sideways, some more into the braking zone. That's all sorts of shapes. That's not the line you want to be taking into this corner particularly.
No, you don't want. Always remember, you don't want to be going left into a right-hander.
Yeah, that is most definitely true. I was thinking about having a dive at the hairpin, but these vehicles just don't have the brakes to really do that.
They don't turn either.
They really don't turn. As Husky got a big slide on, I got better traction out of the corner. I'm up the inside as we head towards the first corner. And again, much like the Bel Airs, you can see the different driving styles. There's me getting understeer, and Husky is going sideways. Yeah, maybe a little bit into the wall on that occasion. And again, both of us are having all sorts of twitchiness into the braking zone. And I may have outbraked myself a little bit. There's a big slide from a four.
I go sideways again.
Oh, these cars are rather silly. My lead lasted not very long on this one. It'd be the same corner again that would screw me over. Yeah, I got a little bit overconfident. Tried braking a tiny bit later, and that's not worked. I end up visiting another tyre bundle. This is not an easy track for these cars. It was supposed to be a challenge, hence why we went to the narrowest and tightest of tracks, and it certainly was interesting trying to fire these cars around here. I'm doing the silly again. I don't know why I kept trying this, because there really wasn't very much else I could do, I suspect. I thought about going around the outside, end up outbraking myself a little bit, and then physics happens, and suddenly I'm pointing backwards. I'm not sure what's going on with the tyre bundle there.
So the tyre wall decided to just suck you in.
Yeah, the tyre wall was angry, I think. It got unhappy with me and ended up firing me around in a circle. So you've got to be careful of that tyre bundle. Anyway, a couple of laps later, after Husky had an argument with the wall, and he lost said argument, we were back together again. And I'm on the outside.
I could win that argument.
No, it was a worthy attempt. It didn't quite come off. I think that's the fourth time I tried to go around the outside there. There's still with no luck. I believe this is the second to last lap. Husky's car is still having issues under braking. I think I got towards the end. I was starting to get the hang of slowing these cars down, but there's still no grip at all from these tyres. Look at how thin the wheels are.
Do just decide sometimes when they want to stop and when they don't.
Yeah, they are somewhat temperamental. They will do things that you weren't expecting all at the wrong times, and they will be problematic. Problematic is the kindest word to describe these.
That's the nicest word. Now, I thought I could hold this. It turns out I couldn't hold this.
And I had nowhere to go.
Thank you. You put me
back. So I was going around that corner watching Husky. I'd watched Husky for many laps slide around turn one, and I thought, oh, it'll be fine. He'll sort it out. And then by the time I realised he couldn't sort it out, I slammed on the brakes. I could not stop my car in time. I had pretty much given up with control of it. So yeah, we may have had a little bit. I think I might have left collisions or like damage on cosmetics. I know we didn't break these cars. I am yet again on the outside. It didn't work. I gave up on trying to go around the outside and focus on getting a good run.
I don't know if this was the final lap.
I believe this is
when I was thinking I had this in the bag.
This is the final lap.
Yes, I'm going to.
Husky gets a big slide on. I tried to go for a gap. I got so close.
The camera goes a bit.
The camera went into your boot. Husky understeers wide, and I managed to take the lead with a couple of corners to go. Again, this had proved to be quite a close and quite an exciting race with vehicles that really shouldn't have been raced. I even get a little bit, tiny bit of a slide, possibly. I was being very careful in that final corner, and
I got a bit more of a slide and went backwards.
You had a bit more of a slide and ended up
off camera.
You ended up finishing in reverse. My AI bumped into a wall a little bit. So that is 3 wins out of 3 for me. With the NASCAR, I think I am the master of the NASCAR engine then. From this challenge.
Yeah, but I win on the style.
That is true. That is true.
You always need style.
You win on the style front. I'll win on the speed front. Either way,
on the actual racing.
On the actual racing front. Either way, I think we have found 3 very good uses for NASCAR engines, and we made some incredibly close races with them vehicles.
Some things.
It was much closer than I thought it might be. Yeah, and that Bel Air race was incredible. It was honestly one of the most fun races I think I've ever been a part of. Even the Ford Deluxe Coupe, that race was pretty nerve-wracking. Trying to fire them cars around. So if you have Forza 5, I highly recommend you give it a go. Stick a Nascar engine in a highly inappropriate vehicle, don't put any other upgrades on, and try and race it around some really rather narrow tracks. It is huge amounts of fun, especially with that Bel Air. The Bel Air is amazing for this kind of racing. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.